Last week at Martinsville, Matthew Thunhorse put on an absolute clinic, winning his fifth race of the season. That's over a 50% win rate, but despite that, the championship is surprisingly close with only 2 races to go, with he and both of his championship rivals still within 7 points of each other. And one extra thing, he's not here tonight or next week. He's on vacation, and that's thrown a whole bunch of wrenches in this whole situation. But live from the virtual Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park, this is round 10 of season 7 of the Bootleg Racing League's Grand National Series, presented by Kitchen. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joey Tevin, and with me in the booth is Devin Henry. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Thompson, it's an oval and it's in Connecticut, but what else do we know about it? I don't know. Let's ask our GSRC track guide.
The Indianapolis of the East was how Thompson Motorsports Park was known for many years. For short track, asphalt, open wheel racing, many consider this 5/8 mile track home. You look at the track layout and you think Martinsville. It's got that same paperclip style shape with long straights and tight turns. But here, the corners are banked at 15 degrees, and you'll need to use all of that banking to have a fast lap around Thompson. And you'll need to use all of the track as well. But be careful, that turn 2 and turn 4 wall will bite you, and they bite hard. This is also a track that you do not want to get hung out on the outside, as you will get freight trained. Thompson is the unofficial home of the NASCAR Modified Series, having hosted the series 146 times in 34 years. Asphalt midgets and sprints have been known to show up in modern days as well. But full-fendered stock car racing is a thing. The NASCAR East Series has been known to run here, and you'll find the usual local complement of street stocks, late models, and local modifieds running weekly during the summer months. Welcome to Thompson Motorsports Park, one of the Northeast's premier short tracks. Let's see who gets that win today on GSRC.
And that was your GSRC track guide for Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park. Make sure to get all those words in the right order. Now, with me in the booth, Devin Henry. I know you've got some experience here. You said you've raced here quite a bit in the Legends cars. It is a free track on iRacing, so I would hope a lot of people have experienced it, but take us or talk us through this place. What's unique about it?
Well, I mean, it kind of depends on your definition of racing. I think what I did was more pacing than anything else in those legend cars as everyone drove by me. But this track, which is just short of 2/3 of a mile, built back and finished in 1940, hosted 3 NASCAR Cup Series races. And the big lure to Thompson Speedway, or what was then Thompson Super Speedway, is this 26 in the corner. Typically, you come with a NASCAR stock car to a short track. It's a bottom feeder, right? Not so much here. That second lane is going to be the priority lane for the most part. You scrub a lot of speed, particularly if you do hit the apron at this track in Connecticut. And like I said, hosted the NASCAR Cup Series a few times. First back in 1951, led by Neil Cole. He won that race by a full lap. I don't think anyone will do that tonight. No promises, though. And then they didn't come back until 1969 when very well-known David Pearson won that event in the NASCAR Cup Series. They have not been back, though, to Thompson since 1970. But most importantly, Joey, it almost looks like Martinsville with the banking of Bristol. This track nearly looks like what I feel like NASCAR wants to turn Auto Club into. High banked, high speed, narrow, and little room for error, though.
And you mentioned David Pearson, the most recent winner. You know who's in this field tonight? It's Bruce Pearson. I don't know if there's a familial relationship there. Maybe there's a couple 15th cousins twice removed, but who knows? Maybe it's a bit of good luck for Bruce. And let's talk about someone who has given us a little bit of good luck, helping us get the BRL on the air here, Gargamel's Kitchen. It's a food-grade nitrous oxide provider located in Denver, Colorado, and a proud sponsor of the Bootleg Racing League's Grand National Series. Visit their office at 2045 South Valentia Street or give them a call at 720-707-6178. That's 720-707-6178. Now let's take a look at the championship, the Drivers' Championship. As I mentioned in the intro, Matthew Thunhorst gone tonight and next week. He's on vacation. He's not going to win this championship unless something goes terribly, terribly wrong and about 20 more drivers join the race. But J.R. Shepard in second place. He takes the de facto lead of the championship, followed by Justin Morton, only 3 points back. And on the precipices of the championship battle, Austin Belkey, he is 14 points off J.R. Shepard, so he's still mathematically eligible here with 2 races to go. He could still win this thing. But for now, we got to focus on today's race, winning today's race. And Devin, tell us what's going to go on tonight.
Well, for everyone new to the Bootleg Racing League Grand National Series, first and foremost, we are in the semifinal round, race 10 of 11. And just like all 11 races, 100 laps here at Thompson Motorsport Speedway Park. No tire changes either. None whatsoever. The rubber that you start this race on is the rubber in which you will end this race on. So tire conservation is always a key. Although it is a short track, so you do get 1 mulligan. You get 1 single fast repair. And of course, no qualifying in the Grand National Series. We take last week's finishing order, invert the top 8, and that is how we set the field every single week in the Bootleg Racing League Grand National Series.
And speaking of those results from last week, we'll guide you through them right here. 8th place last week was Robbie Robinson, so he would be on pole tonight, but unfortunately he is not with us this evening. Adam Shane finished 7th last week. He is with us this evening. Unfortunately, he is right at the bottom of the timesheets in practice, but no harm, no foul. Nobody cares. He'll be on pole either way. Then Mark Herzog not here. Chris Wolfson not here. Austin Belkey is here. He'll start 2nd ahead of his 2 championship rivals, J.R. Shepard, Justin Morton. They'll make up row number 2. And of course, Matthew Thunhorst won last week, but he will not be starting 8th or starting at all, which is maybe a good thing for the rest of the field. It opens it up a little bit. So we'll see what happens tonight. 2.5 minutes left in practice. At the moment, it is, surprise, surprise, J.R. Shepard at the top of the timesheets. He, unfortunately, was tragically denied of a weekend sweep by Austin Belkey and the usual Brandon Proudfoot in the dirt street stocks, but he's won 3 races already. He won the late models, he won the Tour Modifieds, and he won the super late models. So could he go for number 4 tonight? It's a very real possibility.
And that's the really unique part about the Bootleg Racing League, is that this is not the only race this weekend. This is the final race, this is the Premier Race and Premier Series, but they've already raced 5 times, 3 on Friday night. This is the 3rd race tonight, and they have 5 asphalt series, so you get essentially 4 other looks at this track. Granted, I tell you what, they're all in cars that you can't take a lot from and put them into these Arc Menard Series Chevy Impalas, but you do get a chance to look at this track, put in over 200 laps if possible, and have the opportunity to have some sort of experience when you hit the track tonight. And you look at the practice times, J.R. Shepard out in front. Ruben Altice put down a great lap in the 2nd position, but these guys really not trying to put down qualifying laps. As we said, there is no qualifying, so there's no need to go all out. You need to find that balance, right, Joey? You need to be able to find how fast can I go without completely disintegrating my right front tire, and that's going to be a major part of tonight's race. And then since we are going to have an outside line dominant track as well, you're also going to have to watch over that right rear tire as well. So a lot of conservation to consider while you are attempting to go around this track as fast as you can to let that rubber last all 100 laps.
And it is no easy feat on any track, really, to go 100 laps on one set of tires, but especially on a track like this. Someone who knows a lot about saving tires, Justin Morton. He's always there at the end of the race. He's always maybe trying something different. J.R. Shepard also always tries something different, saves the tires early on. And be always interesting to see them kind of meet in the middle, see which strategy pays off the best in the middle of the race. But we're into the dying seconds of practice now. There's a dying lap as we spin across. Oh, destruction in the final seconds of practice, but it's almost over anyway, so have a little bit of fun with it. And its clock ticks down. The 8 or 13 drivers on the grid tonight will grid up, and we'll be going racing here in just a few more seconds. Checkered flag waves, the time ticks down, and here we go. Everybody's gridding. Let's take a look at the grid for tonight's race. As we mentioned, on pole, it'll be Adam Shane, followed by Austin Belkey by virtue of the reverse grid, then Justin Morton, J.R. Shepard, and Lowell Jewell and Bruce Pearson make up row 3. Pearson maybe with a little bit of a home field advantage with that history with the Pearson last name. Then Joe Segala and Ryan Seneker, Todd Liston and Mike Holloway round out row 5, and the rest of the drivers in the race, Kurt Smith, Jason Menda, and Ruben Altice. Very fast in practice, but he'll be making his way up from the back.
And you know what, Joey, there's a ton of time in this race to make it happen. And with only 13 cars on track, you have that opportunity. If you have enough speed, you can find your way around. The biggest difficulty, though, is going to be passing. Can you make the inside line work, or can you find a way to get that momentum in the middle of the corner and force your way to the outside around that right rear quarter panel, the driver in front of you? Passing tonight, I think, is going to be key. Can you do it efficiently, and can you do it quick enough?
Austin Belkey's going to want to get a big jump at the start here. He is in the championship fight, but he's, what do we say, 14 points back from second place. So if he wants to win this championship, he needs to hope bad things happen to JR and Justin Morton, and he wins the race or finishes reasonably high. In the BRL, the point system, you get 40 points for a win, and every position behind that is only 1 point less. So with only 13 cars in the field, there's only a 13-point gap you can make up in one race, which makes it very, very difficult to really claw back a 14-point gap, even when you have 2 races to do it.
Exactly, and that's what makes this league so difficult. You have to be consistent week in and week out, and that is what our top drivers have done this year. So you're still in contention, but the margin for error, so minimal here in the semifinal race of the season.
Navigate turns 3 and 4 under caution or under yellow for the final time. We're going to be going green in 1 moment. Green flag in the air. It's a good start from Adam Shane. Good start from Austin Belkey. And we're green at Thompson.
Phenomenal job by Austin Belkey to get a jump in that outside lane. Uses the momentum off the corner. Ooh, contact for the 5th position. Bruce Pearson involved. He got into Lowell Jewell, and our first caution is out coming off of turn number 2.
They made it halfway around the track, and the name advantage doesn't look like it did very much for Bruce Pearson. The spirit of David Pearson, maybe not with him just yet. He's going to fall all the way down the field. Not quite last. He's in 12th. Ryan Seneker also ran into trouble, but let's take a look at what happened there.
We take the green flag, and a lot of speed coming off of turn number 2. Watch the red, white, and blue, number 22, 3rd row outside. To the inside of him is the boss man, Lowell Jewell, in the black number 52. And it looks like the 22 might have just been a little lower than what Jewell was expecting, and that causes a massive pileup. And I even think Ryan Seneker had continued issues, and I think he ended up looping it around in turn number 4. So a little bit uncomfortable. Yeah, the car just steps out from the 22. The rear end just kicks on out. That could be the tires just not up to a decent temperature yet. That could also be, oh yeah, there's the 19. Whoa. Completely separate incident there. Luckily, no one gets into him. But, and that might be something as simple, Joe. You know how difficult it is coming off of a corner, wanting to maximize that speed, and you get on the throttle just a little bit too hard, especially on these cold Goodyear tires, and the front of the car continues to turn, and the rear end goes, I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah, not as much downforce as you might want in these ARCA Chevy Impalas, especially on cold tires, like you said. So we made it half a lap. The tires had a chance to warm up, and now under caution, we're cooling them all back down again. But Austin Belkey took the lead. If you look at the ticker and you look at the comparison to where they started, it's kind of just flip-flopped. 1st and 2nd switched, 3rd and 4th switched, and then it kind of got a little bit messy with some of the spins, but it looks like the outside line was really the place to be at the start. Even though we only did half a lap, both of the outside cars made up a spot.
And that was created because of the jump that Austin Belkey had from that 2nd position. In fact, he beat Adam Shane to turn number 1. So that in and of itself helped the entire outside lane get that jump, and then they were able to complete passes coming off of turn number 2. Now the issue here for Belkey is, okay, you got that initial great launch, but now you have to restart on the inside lane as the leader. Can you get a big enough jump to get in front of Adam Shane? Preferably before you get to turn 1, or at the very least before you get to turn number 3.
Well, the pace car pulls off once again, and we're basically instantly going green. An incredible jump by Austin Belkey. It looks like the bottom line, J.R. Shepard jumped Adam Shane too. Looks like Adam just got caught sleeping there a little bit.
I mean, the 24 lit up the second the pace car went on pit road. It's a good day to be following Austin Belkey, apparently.
A very good day for following Austin Belkey for J.R. Shepard, because he really took advantage of that. He's up to second, but that's not what Austin wanted. He didn't want J.R. behind him. He wanted somebody who isn't fighting for the championship behind him, like, the 65, Adam Shane spins.
Another simple example there of just overeating, over grabbing that throttle. You want so bad to have that momentum coming off of the corner. So you're like, I'm just going to tick on that throttle a little bit more. And the tires are just too cold to live on that edge and survive. So we'll watch the red and black car, number 65, using that outside lane, gets on the throttle just a little early. You can see the point of no return is long before they even get to the exit of the corner. That rear end is stepping out. And, you know, part of that is the pressure of trying to keep up with J.R. Shepard. You know you need to keep up with that car. So you get on the throttle maybe just a little bit more than him. And, no, the rear end does not like that, especially at a track with 26 degrees of banking.
Adam Shane goes from first to worst. Unfortunately for him, down in 13th, but there's still 91 laps left to go. We've only completed 9 laps so far tonight. Only, I'd say, 1 total of them has been under green, because we only did half a lap to start with, and we went green that last time. We only made it about half a lap as well. So maybe this time we'll get a nice green flag run. Everybody taking a little bit of a break. Like you said, we've already run 2 races tonight, so maybe they'll be happy to have a little bit of a break to start this one out.
And they certainly don't have much time to compose themselves between races. You only get like 15, 20 minutes maybe. I mean, less, even more so if the race before goes long in any fashion. So, yeah, not a lot of time to prepare for this coming out of the previous event, the super late models. So, or excuse me, not the super late models, the late model trucks. So, I don't know. It's nice to have a breather, but you're also going, I can't find a rhythm now. I just cannot find a rhythm in this race. So we'll see what they're able to do, but I'm never comfortable J.R. Shepard starting on my outside on an outside dominant track.
Yeah, I would not be very happy about that either, but we saw Belkey get an incredible launch last time. So we'll see if maybe he'll have to change that up a little bit, because Shepard knows what he's up to. So he might launch it early as well. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We re-rack the whole grid, all the billiard balls together in a pair of lines. J.R. Shepard on the outside, the dominant outside. Austin Belkey on the inside. We know he's been able to get good restarts from the inside in the last one. And then Justin Morton's behind him. We'll see if he can jump Shepard, his championship rival. Talk about that a lot tonight. But the pace car pulls off, green flag in the air, and it's another great launch by Austin Belkey, but J.R. Shepard is right there with him.
A good jump by Belkey, but a better one by the number 98 machine of J.R. Shepard. New leaders, the 98, and Justin Morton follows along for the ride.
And the 2 championship rivals, 2 championship leaders say bye-bye, Belkey. We're going 1-2. It's Morton and Shepard. Shepard and Morton 1-2. Austin Belkey down to 3rd. And Joe Segala is now in 4th place, trying to peek to the outside of the 24. He's not going to find it, and it looks like we got a wiggler in the back. Is that Todd Liston getting a little bit loose? I believe it was.
Todd Liston and Jason Mendes were battling door to door, and eventually the number 87 machine just cannot quite hold on to it much longer. Typically on a short track, the black coal is the outside lane, but for now, the 87 of Todd Liston cannot get up a lane any sooner. He is losing a plethora of positions, now under attack from the 2 machine of Mike Holloway.
Speaking of Jason Mendes, you want to talk about a big mover, 12th to 5th. Great stuff on the opening laps by Jason Mendes, staying out of trouble, staying on the outside, making moves. He's up 7 spots already in that number 45. But up front, it's getting awfully close. Justin Morton trying to get the bumper to J.R. Shepard. Talked about this earlier. Maybe the 2 strategies meeting in the middle here. Morton going a little more aggressive early on. Maybe Shepard trying to save something for later. We'll see which one comes out on top, because I would think track position's pretty important with how dominant the top is going to be. So you want to make that move whenever you can.
And of course, we see Justin Morton and of course also Matthew Thunhorse battling in the major series as well. But I've always loved watching that 9 machine in the Dirt Street Stock Series, also live here on GSRC on Friday nights. You know, you always got to rip it to the right a little bit when you're sideways in a dirt car. And I always say that Justin Morton is typically the guy who turns these Impalas into dirt cars. He's turning to the right the most of any of the other drivers. And that's because he just goes hard. Almost 24/7. He's gotten better at conservation, but you know if someone's going to lay it all out there and use every bit of the tires that he can, it's going to be Justin Morton. He'll have sliding by the end of the race sometimes with that right rear.
Unfortunately, not able to get through Shepard just yet. Shepard just running a perfect line. He's on rails. If you're waiting for J.R. Shepard to make a mistake, you're going to be waiting for a pretty long time, and it looks like Morton will be waiting for quite a long time for an opportunity to open up. Just running single file at the moment. Basically, the whole field just staying high on that top line. Everybody maybe trying to save their stuff, trying not to go on the bottom because they'll lose 17 spots. But other than that, looks like it's going to be pretty calm for a little bit as we've got 2 cautions out of the way. We've got 2 spins out of the way. Everyone's got a fresh car, but everyone might just have to wait a little bit.
20 laps down, now just 80 to go. And J.R. Shepard, I mean, we all know this, Joey. JR's the juggernaut of the league, right? Has himself 48 career BRL Grand National Series victories, a plethora of championships across all different divisions of the Bootleg Racing League. And the last thing that any of these competitors ever want is that 98 car to be out front because he is so torturous to attempt to pass. So at this point, like you said with strategies, sometimes you kind of just have to switch it up a little bit at least. Justin Morton has to consider, you know, we have still almost 80 laps to go in this event. What do I have to do to at least keep pace with J.R. Shepard and have something for him to make the move eventually, make the pass, and keep him behind me? They continue to put a little bit of a gap on that Pepsi Jeff Gordon throwback of Austin Belkey, along with Joseph Gallin, the Haviland throwback of Jason Mendes. But everyone is keeping up for the most part, so we'll see how the tires evolve over the course of this run. Remember, no tire changes through these 100 laps.
And compared to some of the shorter tracks we've run this season, this place is practically a super speedway. We did call it Thompson Super Speedway at one point, but it's 0.625 of a mile. That's longer than quite a few tracks we've run this season, so lap traffic might come a little bit later than normal with the long lap time here. Last lap for J.R. Shepard was a 20.7, and Ryan Seneca at the back is only 6.2 seconds behind them at the moment, so it could be quite a while before they reach lap traffic, if they ever do.
And back when they opened this track in 1940, made it a 5/8 mile track, and they called it Super Speedway. Super Speedway was a new term. There was no Daytona, there was no Talladega. For any track, dirt or asphalt, 5/8 was pretty dang large. They began to call it the Indianapolis of the East, even though Indianapolis is obviously a lot of it longer than this track. But yeah, like you said, this brings a completely different amount of circumstances to these drivers. It is a vastly different track than anything else on the schedule. As wow, Mike Holloway and Kurt Smith get into it down the back straightaway, but everyone keeps their machine straight. And I might have spoke too soon. It looked like Bruce Pierce, no, Adam Shane and maybe Lowell Jewell having issues in the back.
Just absolute cars all over the place. Who knows what's going on? Somebody's coming down into the pits, I think. That's Adam Shane in big trouble. He might have been trying to get into the pits, but you're quite a bit away from the pits, Adam. Keep it rolling. We can see a replay of what happened. That was just calamity. There were cars all over the place.
And that's going to be the end of the day for Adam Shane, unfortunately. It all starts towards the middle of the field between Mike Holloway and Kurt Smith. Holloway on the inside with the yellow and blue car. Looks like Smith just got loose off corner exit. The two was an innocent bystander, and right behind them, someone didn't agree on how far outside the outside-inside line is, and so Shane and Jewell get into each other, and something happens here for Adam Shane because, I mean, this car just implodes essentially, and that's going to be the end of the day for the number 65.
I think that might have just been a case of two drivers trying to avoid the same wreck, but in the process of avoiding it, they failed to avoid each other, and they just ate a big old mouthful of wall. Luckily, nobody went over the wall. We don't have a catch fence at some parts of this track, so you can go out of the park, but they're both still solidly in the park. Up front, in the park of J.R. Shepherd's rear bumper, is still Justin Morton. I tell you what, he's closer than he's ever been so far this race. We're only 32 laps into this, so I don't know if he'll give him the bumper just yet, but he's letting him know he's there.
Nah, it's all about patience at this point. You're not even a third of the way through this race, and we have had 2 instances, Joey, of 100-lap wire-to-wire green flag races. And while this would not fit that mantra because we had 2 quick cautions in the first 5 laps, if we go 95 laps green, 94 laps green, whatever, that's still a potential outcome of this race. And if that does so happen, if you're the 9 car, you just have to stay on the bumper of J.R. Shepherd. You don't need to force a move at this point. You just have to stay right there with the 98. And even the cars behind him, Belkey, Segala, and Mendes are all in this little mini pack behind the top 2. They also know we just need to keep pace and save up these tires. And you can already see this is a fixed setup series. All the drivers beginning to influx their line, have different entries and exits as the tires continue to wear off. And we will see these changes become more drastic as the race goes on, as it looks like Lowell Jewell will come in from that incident to fix some damage to that number 52 machine. Fresh new paint for the boss man.
Yeah, bad news for Lowell Jewell. He's going to go multiple laps down if he does continue in this race, but I guess he just thinks the damage from that incident with Adam Shane too bad to keep rolling on with. He's in the pits now, and he will fall multiple laps down in 12th. He won't finish last, Adam Shane will. So we'll get that 1 extra point, which is nice for him, but it looks like it's going to be the end of the competitive day for Lowell Jewell. And someone we haven't talked about, like, at all, Austin Belkey, since he started on the front row. He has fallen back. He's in 3rd. He's not the star of the battle up front right now, but he's only 7/10, now 6/10 behind this battle for the lead. Look at him. He's coming with a full head of steam. It's going to be a 3-way battle up front soon.
But this is all that the Michigander needs to do. In fact, he's closing in on this top 2 pairing. So long as he's not burning up his rubber too much more than these other guys in front of him, this is fine. This is great. This is borderline ideal. Obviously, you would rather be in front because he held that position at one point during this race. But we've seen Austin Belkey over the past few seasons, past couple of years, in fact, get better and better every single season. And this year, he's had multiple podium finishes. He's consistently been in the top 5, and that is why he's still technically and mathematically in this championship hunt. He's kept the car clean. He's kept it where it's supposed to be, and he's done what he's needed to do to be competitive in this league. And tonight, he continues to show that he has the pace to keep up with the top 2 in this race. Meanwhile, Justin Morton continues to change up that line, Joey. Almost took a look off of turn number 4 last time around, enters really high here and cuts off turn number 4. And we'll continue to see these lines evolve, but the 9 car might be trying to put together a plan to get around J.R. Shepherd in the near or maybe even later future.
Yeah, he did put a nose to the inside. He wasn't quite alongside. He didn't send it in there, but he was just letting J.R. Shepherd know that he's there. He's still there. He's not going anywhere. And Austin Belkey's there as well. The gap closing with every single lap. The entire top 5 covered by about half a second now. Expands a little bit down the front straight that time, but no harm, no foul. He's still around. But the 9 and the 98, Morton and Shepherd still glued nose to tail, tail to nose. Justin Morton again just going a little bit higher on entry than Shepherd, but it's not quite working for him because unfortunately for him on exit, there's a big old rear bumper right there in front of him.
And as you look through the rest of the field, everyone remaining on track, they're all within half of a track of one another. So they continue to battle things out. They continue to fight amongst themselves for position. And this battle just around that 10th position. Remember, the top 8, that 8th place position, that is the provisional poll for next week. And there is no qualifying at our final event of the season, right? It all goes by your finishing order today. So not only are you fighting for an extra finishing position, but you're also fighting for an extra starting position for next week. Every single spot on track is important in some way, shape, or form, whether you are inside the top 8 or not.
Well, we've got a 3-way battle here for the top 8 for reverse grid pole. Kurt Smith to the outside, but unfortunately he gets held up by the 87 of Todd Liston. I think all these cars might be nursing just a little bit of damage left over from the steal of DJ Clark Frey's kerfluffle on the back straight. But Pearson really attacking Todd Liston down to the bottom, but he just doesn't really have anything down there because that top is so dominant, even with a little bit of slow speed from Todd Liston on the high side. He's struggling just a little bit, but Pearson can't clear him, or can he? There he goes. He found something on the bottom, and Todd Liston, for good measure, brushes the outside wall.
And that number 22 machine for Mission 22 in remembrance of those lives lost in 9/11, and of course to support first responders and military as well. Great paint scheme there. Oh, Justin Morton taking a peek for the lead on the inside. Got that momentum off of 4. And what we just saw, Joey, with that battle, can Justin Morton do anything different and get a pass done?
We'll have to wait and see. The folks at the TDR Technology Center, they were seeing how that pass worked for Bruce Pearson. Maybe the bottom's starting to come in a little bit. And now Justin Morton goes for it again to the bottom. He's alongside, but Shepard on the high line just holding a little bit tougher than Todd Liston was able to in that battle for 8th. It's not quite working out for Justin Morton just yet. So he's going to have to regroup and think what's next. If this isn't working, what else could possibly work? He's still got 50 laps to think about it.
And he really can't make any outrageous move or erroneous attack, because if anything were to go wrong, the number 24 is there. I think Austin Belkey could jump atop the number 9 machine if he makes some sort of foul decision here and forces himself to lose too much momentum. So you can't throw too much like the kitchen sink at it, but still going to continue to experiment. The biggest difference between the top 2 and Austin Belkey is right there, what you just saw, that distance on corner exit. The number 24 really dives it into the corner, and that's hurting his exit momentum. So I'm interested if the number 24 will decide to maybe mix up some of that entry strategy. You'll see him really close in, bring it to about a car length, and then lose almost all of that on exit. So we'll see if philosophies change just over halfway through this race.
Another good exit from Morton, but he can't do anything with it because Shepard is right there in the way. And I mentioned lap traffic a couple dozen laps ago. Just mentioning our last placed car on track at the moment, Ryan Seneker. Lowell Jules in the pits. Ryan Seneker, last placed car on the track. Gap between him and Shepard is 14 seconds. They're running, actually, I'd say fairly similar lap times, but that is quite a few seconds between them two. That's only 6 seconds that Shepard needs to make up to reach lap traffic for the first time. So could that happen before the end of the race? It's a very real possibility. Last lap for Seneker was a 21.3. Last lap for Shepard, 21.1. So there's only 2/10 between them. You got to do the math there. 5 times 6, 30. They could make it to the end of the race, or before the end of the race, about lap 85. We could forecast that as the time when we're going to reach lap traffic for the first time, and that might be a good lap for Justin Morton. That might be what he's waiting for here.
Still just waiting on that rear bumper, the 98, and especially once the tires continue to fall off throughout this entire race, they'll find that lap traffic. But even if they do, while it's still not great to catch lap traffic at any point of a short track in any sense of the matter, everyone here drives very respectfully. They all are a very tight bunched group. So if there's just one car alone, they're just going to slide out of the way. So not a huge concern with lap traffic. They will find it, but most notably, they're typically just going to slide away, not try to affect this battle for the lead, because this could have major implications to the championship if Justin Morton can figure out a win here tonight. He'll only gain 1 point on J.R. Shepard if Belkey doesn't pass him, so won't be a ton of ground made up, but win number 2 on the season would look great for the number 9 machine.
Yeah, right now, between Shepard and Morton, Shepard would make up 1 point, so it would go from a 3-point gap to a 4-point gap. And of course, if Morton wins the race over Shepard, it would go from a 3-point gap to a 2-point gap. But either way, that's more than one position between these two cars coming into next week. So these two can't finish 1-2 2 weeks in a row. If they do, Shepard wins the championship either way. So Morton's going to be hoping for a little bit of misfortune, either in this race or the next race for Shepard. He needs a car in between these two, either this week or next week. And we'll see if maybe Austin Belkey could be that car this week. But there's still quite a few laps left to go, so there could be quite a few cars between these two. Anything could happen as we cross the line here to finish lap number 60. We're on lap number 61 now. Morton fell back a little bit over the course of the last couple laps, but right now he's just in the process of driving his way back up there, trying to get back to that bumper and trying to figure out what's next on the attack sheet.
Joe Segala has done a phenomenal job holding on to that 4th position, falling off this top 3 battle, but the number 81 machine holding strong pace-wise directly behind him, the number 45 of Jason Mendes, the 25-year firefighting veteran. Always a pleasure to have the Floridian racing with us here in the Bootleg Racing League. Just another guy keeping that consistency. Started this race from the 12th position and has himself inside the top 5, but has a pair of hungry cars behind him. Ruben Altice, who started dead last, he is directly behind him in that black number 11. And Mike Holloway, we saw him have pits issues in that number 2 car, and he's still in this battle for a potential top 5. So even though they're not in the hunt for this top 3 battle, these 4 drivers in a kerfluffle of their own.
And Ruben Altice, he was rapid in practice. He was faster than Justin Morton in practice, at least in this session. He's down in 6th by virtue of having to make up a ton of spots from 13th on the grid. He and Mendes both made up 7 spots so far today. We'll see if they can make up any more. Looks like it's a little bit of a train behind Segala. Holloway's got quite a bit of speed. He's going to get to the bumper of Altice and fall back, but the battle for the lead still raging on here. Justin Morton just kind of locked behind Shepard by about 1/10 of a car length, and he can't make it up. He can't get through him. He can't just drive through him.
And Morton has been here for an extended period of time now, so you have to think either he has come up with a plan or it's just kind of over, which I think the 9 at the very least has a plan, has at least some sort of thought of how to get around the 98. So at that point, you have to figure out when is going to be the best time to do that. This time by 2/3 through the race, 33 laps to go. When do you need to flip that switch and get around the 98 car? He's still right there on the bumper. He still has the pace of the 98, but now he just needs to find out, when do I need to make the move? Can't do it too late, because otherwise you might not have enough chances to get around J.R. Shepard.
Bad news for fans of Kurt Smith, the number 6 car. He had a little bit of trouble on the back straight. I'm going to go to a replay here, see what happened to Kurt. He was running, I believe, in the 11th position, and just a little bit of loss.
Yeah, not a good time when you hit the inside wall at this track. So unfortunately for Kurt Smith, that will end his day to run inside the top 10. Pulls it into the garage, and he will bring home, looks like probably an 11th place finish. We'll see what Lil Jul's able to do as lap traffic finds their way in front of the number 98 machine, but it holds everybody up. And here they are to this pack, battling for the potential pole for next week, Joey. So everyone here has a reason to fight.
And you said lap traffic does their best to get out of the way, but when you're fighting with another car in a battle of your own, it's hard to get out of the way. But luckily, it looks like everybody doing their best. Pearson, Liston, going down to the bottom, giving the leaders that high line. Looks like they'll dispatch of Bruce Pearson fairly easily. And we'll be back to a 3-car battle up front. Austin Belkey lagging back a little bit. Oh, that was close. He tried to diamond off the corner, and unfortunately, there was a Bruce Pearson in the way. So he's going to lose a few tenths to our 2 leaders, but it's just like it was many laps ago. We're back to the usual. Justin Morton still trying to get by J.R. Shepard any way he possibly can. But all the ways he's tried previously haven't worked. But he's still got 27 more laps to try, 27 things to try. And look at Austin Belkey. If we can take a look at The line Austin Belkey is taking, that is the sharpest diamond I think I've seen from anyone in the field.
And he continues to throw it into turn number 1, and you see him lose all that distance coming off of 2, which it's okay, but look at that. Look at how he just reels everybody in. I am worried that he is plowing through that right front tire. But if it works, it works, because Austin Belkey has done great so far this year. You know that 24 car wants to find his way to victory lane before it's all said and done and become just the 7th different winner all time in the Grand National Series.
Well, if he's been doing this for 75 laps and he's still got those tires under him, he must be doing something right. There's just magic that goes into some of these drivers' styles sometimes. You don't know how they do it. You don't know how they're keeping the tires under them with whatever the heck it is they're doing, but looks like Austin Belkey, he's either saved up enough or J.R. Shepherd has done worse than he has, and he's just holding them both up. But either way, top 3 still stuck together. Less than 25% of the race left to go. Austin Belkey trying to make up that like 0.4, 0.3, 0.5 second gap between him and the top 2. Justin Morton trying to make up that 1 or 2/10 gap to Shepherd. As we cross the line this time, the gap's expanded just a little bit over to what we've seen for the majority of the race. Morton maybe falling back a little bit, or maybe trying to set something up here.
One of the two, but we all know that the tire conservation king is that number 98 machine, in part from that manufacturing engineer background, but more so from his 6 years of racing Legends cars, which this is kind of the track that iRacing primarily uses for Legends cars. So maybe some of that real world experience saving the tires is coming into play here for the 98. It seems like every week where he's out front, he finds a way to not only outpace but outsave everyone else. But tight circumstances here, the 9 car is still not quite at bay. So J.R. Shepherd can just continue to hold him off. He's in good shape, but with 20 to go coming up this time by, time will continue to dwindle for the number 9 machine. You have to make the move sometime. And also, it's hard to pass someone when you're running the same line as them. So we'll see what the 9 has in store. He had to be making a plan during the past 80 laps of this race.
We talk about how close these drivers are with each other. It's a small group of drivers. It's a close group of drivers. How does that impact your mindset when you are racing in these final couple laps and you have to get really aggressive? Are you less willing to maybe give the car in front a little bit of a shove, push him out of the way, or is that just racing?
I mean, it's so, if you can find a way to do that without taking someone out, go for it, because these Impalas prefer 6-foot social distancing at all times. They do not like contact. The slightest amount of contact in these Impalas will just whip someone around. So putting the bumper on someone is basically going, I'm probably going to take you out, but hopefully not. So you try to do it as clean as you can, because there's no reason in a championship hunt like this to lay the bumper on someone in such volatile cars, right? So you have to find a way to make the move cleanly and make the move somewhat quickly. If you're the 9 machine, you see him poke back down on exit. This is how he got door to door the last time he was able to do it, but that momentum is continuing to falter as the tires wear out coming out of turn number 4.
Again, Austin Belkey on exit, he just plummets back. Even after exit, it's like he's got less straight line speed or something, but that's just a side effect of being awfully slow off the corner. Justin Morton again falls back, but he was able to make up a similar gap last time around. It took him about 5 laps, but he did get back to the bumper of JR, got a nose underneath him, but couldn't do much more than that. So we crossed the line this time, 15 laps to go. 15% of the race to go. We've run this long. J.R. Shepherd's led basically every lap since he got to the lead. Justin Morton, he's running out of time to change that. Austin Belkey just kind of riding behind, hoping that these two do end up coming together, hoping the two of these Impalas snap around and take each other out. That would be great for his championship hopes. His small championship hopes, unfortunately, being 14 points back, but top two take each other out. That's great for him. Is that going to happen? I'd say probably not.
Morton still continues to hound that rear bumper. really high in 3 and 4. He did this a couple of laps ago, and Belkey ran the inside. I don't know if Morton was setting something up or if he just missed the corner, because as this right front continues to decay, you really get tight through the center of that corner and push on exit. So, man, I just don't know if the 9 car has much left as he just taps the wall down the back straightaway. Whatever you have left, it's time to flaunt it. 11 laps to go this time by. And like you said, even though there's not a ton of cars on track, you have this top 3 battle. They are all within 0.4 of a second. Then you have 5th, 6th, and 7th. They're all within, I don't know, what's that? Not even a second. And then the battle for the provisional pole next week, that's only a gap of about 0.3 of a second. Or no, it's closer right now. They're on each other's bumpers. So even though there's not many cars on track, we have 3 excruciatingly long battles through this long green flag run.
Oh, a little bit of a wiggle from 3rd place in line in the 2nd battle. That is Ruben Altis, but he keeps it together. Holloway doesn't get through him, and they will stay line astern, single file here. 10 laps to go at Thompson. Shepard, Morton, Belkey. Top 3. They've been the top 3 for the vast majority of the race, and it doesn't look like that's going to change, but the order might change. Oh dear, Justin Morton scrapes the outside wall again. Talking about how he might have a little bit left in the tank. I worry that he may have scraped everything he had left in the tank on the outside wall. Those last 2 times, these ARCA cars are fickle, and they take damage easily, especially with the new damage model. I don't think he'll take too much damage with just a couple scrapes. I think he's still okay, but you can see him sending it in there, Belkey style. I think he might be getting a little bit desperate. He thinks the time is now to make the move.
I think he just missed entry to 3 there. Came in too hot and pushed through the center of the corner, and that made up another sizable gap to J.R. Shepard. It's now eclipsed 0.3 of a second. Still really pounding it into turn number 3, and it's not helping him on the exit of the corner. J.R. Shepard beginning to pull away here in the latter portion of this race. 7 laps to go from Thompson.
Has Justin Morton used up everything he had? Might be, but he is getting to the bumper of Shepard here. I don't think he has used up everything because he's still there. A great exit out of 4. He is still 100% there. He's made up the gap he lost in the space of 1 lap. You can see that nose so close to the back of the rear bumper of Shepard, but it's been the case for the entirety of the race. Just not able to drive through him, not able to get under him or outside of him or alongside him at all. He's running out of time to do it. 5 laps to go, crossing the line for lap number 96 of 100. J.R. Shepard sitting pretty right now, but Morton has a couple more tricks up his sleeve, hopefully.
And obviously the 9 car has the speed, but you have to find a way to pass J.R. Shepard though. He's only been able to attempt 2 times in total in this race to get below the 98 car. And using the bumper, like I said in these ARCA Menard Series cars, unless you want to take out the leader and the championship points leader at that as well, you don't just shove them into the corner because that's going to spin someone out in these ARCA Menard Series cars. You have to get the momentum, get to the inside, and make the pass without using that chrome horn.
3 laps to go. The race is coming to an end. There are a couple of lapped cars up ahead. Todd Liston, I'm not sure if they'll catch him in the space of 2 or 3 laps, and if they do, he was very nice. He ran the bottom last time out, but good exit from Morton again. Shepard gets a little bit loose on exit that time, but still, Morton nowhere to go. 2 laps to go, more like 1.5 right now through turns 3 and 4. Todd Liston goes down to the bottom. He's going to stay out of the way of the lead battle. 1 lap to go for J.R. Shepard to hang on.
One last attempt here from Morton. Austin Belkey still in this hunt as well. Top 3 all together here in the final lap.
Morton down low, Shepard up high. What will Morton do here? The final corner, the final lap, he sends it down to the inside. Video game style, but there's nothing down there for Justin Morton. And J.R. Shepard wins at Thompson. Justin gave it everything he had, but unfortunately it just wasn't enough. Couldn't make the move down there.
A fantastic showcase by J.R. Shepherd. Once he got out front, just could not get back around him. And I cannot wait for all of the tweets sent Joey's way because he called this a video game.
Oh no, I've made a critical error. I gotta get out of here. I can't call the rest of this race. Well, I'll take a break. I'll leave the country and I'll change my name. Nobody will be able to find me, but hopefully we'll be able to find you in 2 or 3 minutes. We'll talk to the top 3. See you then.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to the virtual Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park. We've just finished 100 laps in the BRL Grand National Series. And guess who's come out on top? It's J.R. Shepherd. Yet again, he wins in the number 98 over Justin Morton after a last ditch, last attempt. Austin Belkey ended on the podium, and Joe Segala, a solid 4th place finish. Jason Menda and Ruben Altis, the big movers, 5th and 6th from 12th and 13th. And Mike Holloway in 7th. Ryan Seneker in 8th will start on reverse grid pole if he's here next week. Then Bruce Pearson, Todd Liston finished multiple laps down, and the used car lot. Kurt Smith, Lowell Jewell, Adam Shane all ran into big trouble at the back of the field. As we wait for our drivers to stream in here, it looks like we've got our 2nd place finisher, Justin Morton, ready to talk to us. Justin, it was quite the last lap effort, quite the last ditch effort. You had to do something to get by Shepherd. It didn't quite work out, but did you have anything else for him?
I like to think I had something else for him, but I really didn't. I was giving it everything I had most of that run. This track's so hard to pass on. I was trying everything.
With the dominance of the outside line, did you ever think you could get to the outside, or was JR just cutting off every chance you had?
Yeah, I did actually get 2 inside calls there at some points. I just get a pretty decent entry to the turn, and I'll just get there, get a small call, and at that point I was too far up the track to do anything. So I knew it'd have to be around the outside.
It was a tough old race, and you had to hit your line every single lap, 100 laps, almost 90 of them green. How difficult was it in the cockpit trying to just absolutely nail it every lap, not make any mistakes with J.R. Shepherd? And it's a championship battle as well. So how intense was that?
Yeah, that was really intense. I knew a lot was riding on this race. I knew if I could get in front of him, it was only 2 points to make up. Now it's 4 points to make up in the next race. So it's going to take a lot to go right next round.
Yeah, 4 points between you two as we go to the final round in New Smyrna. It's a pretty different track from Thompson. How are you feeling going into that one?
I'm feeling pretty good at New Smyrna. I've had pretty good results there in the past, I think. It's so hard with how many tracks we go to remember which one's which, but I've had pretty good results there, I think. So we'll make the best of it.
All right. Congrats on your 2nd place finish tonight. You have anyone you want to thank before we kick you out of here?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my team, Toll Downforce Racing, Pixel Dust for sponsoring us, and the Great Paint, Gargamel's Kitchen for sponsoring the series, Lowell for running the this great league, and thank you guys for doing the broadcasting.
And thank you for putting on a show for us. But good news, folks. We've got our winner, J.R. Shepard. He's just showed up. We're going to bring him into the booth here. Your winner tonight, J.R. Shepard, is with Devin.
J.R. Shepard gets it done, leading the majority of this race to bring the number 98 back to victory lane. And JR, this is obviously a difficult track to race, to pass on. It's not exactly like IRP, but that outside lane is so dominant. And you were hunted down by Justin Morton and Austin Belkey every single lap. How did you manage to keep those two behind you for, what was that, 85, 90 laps?
Yeah, it's just practice more than anything. So you can't worry about what's going on behind you. You just have to focus forward. But it's not, like you said, it's extremely hard to pass here. So it wasn't about turning a fast lap time. I was trying to run to a lap time in order to save the tires, and I thought for sure that this would be one of those races that just had caution after caution. So you were going to need those tires. And it didn't happen. So toward the end of the race, when those guys are right there on you, you know that you can't make any mistakes because they're there to grab it if you do.
And next week is the championship event at New Smyrna Speedway. You have the title lead. What's the plan? What are you thinking about heading into next week for the championship?
Yeah, it's a cool position to be in, but this season's been one of those where Matt's pretty well dominated, and he had to miss a week this week, so not a way that you want to fall into one for sure to have to race with it. But either way, if it's me or Justin that gets it, Justin's extremely deserving to win a championship and extremely fast and extremely clean. So if I'm going to race somebody for it, I would definitely enjoy racing him for sure.
And who do you have to thank for bringing it home, top step of the podium tonight?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you to the Bootleg Racing League for allowing us to do this, and my sponsor, Different Path Motorsports, and thank you to the title sponsor for the series, Gargamel's Kitchen. We can't do these broadcasts without people like that, so we really, really appreciate it, and just want to say that it's the 20th anniversary of 9/11 and the terrible events that happened there. So everybody that was affected by that firsthand, thoughts and prayers are still with you guys. I know it's been a long time, but it's still tough. So thinking about them today, and today's my birthday. I don't think I've ever won one of these races on my birthday, but I have happy thoughts and still have some extremely sad thoughts for what happened 20 years ago. So again, just our thoughts and prayers are with everybody.
Well, JR, happy birthday. Thank you for those thoughts and prayers, and congratulations on win number 4 of the season coming here at Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park.
Thank you, guys. We really appreciate it.
JR Shepard bringing home the victory, and your third place finisher, Austin Belkey, is with Joey.
Austin, third place tonight. You were right at the back of that 3-car train. It seemed the whole time. What were you thinking back there? Were you hoping the 2 leaders would slow each other down and you could slip through, or were you just studying that whole time?
Well, to be completely honest, I was really hoping they'd just get into each other and I'd come away with the lead. But at the very least, I was kind of hoping Justin would try to pass JR and I could kind of sneak up around him. At the very least, and come away with second. And then at that point, I guess, hope for a caution so I could try to take the lead back from JR the way he got it from me in the beginning. But otherwise, yeah, just kind of studying, waiting for my moment to pounce. And unfortunately, it never came, but that's just short track racing.
Yeah, speaking of that restart, we went so long green at the end here that I almost forgot that we had those 2 restarts at the start of the race. I remember you got a great jump on the first one of those 2 restarts, and then the second one, it looked like Shepard was maybe able to match you. Were you trying to fake him out, maybe trying to change up your strategy, and he didn't fall for it?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you have to. The first one, I went at the time I figured I should, and then I thought it was kind of early, so I tried to do it later. But yeah, I mean, JR, he's the best. So he just knew how to time it, and he knew how to anticipate. Even if he didn't anticipate, he's got really good reflexes, and he's so good getting up through the gears. So he was just able to stay right with me.
Now, next weekend, we go to New Smyrna, the final race of the season. Not to be the bearer of bad news, but I believe you might be mathematically eliminated from the championship, but we're still going to New Smyrna. How do you feel about that play? How do you feel about your possibilities of ending the season on a high?
Yeah, so you're not the bearer of bad news. I'm a math guy myself, engineer, so I kind of know I'm mathematically probably eliminated from it with the amount of cars we've had showing up. Hopefully, we get enough cars that I am mathematically still in it, but I didn't expect anything else, to be quite honest with you. So I really like New Smyrna. It's a nice track. It's definitely more of a regular track than Thompson. So I think we should have a pretty good shot there. It's always fun, and it's always fun racing in BRL. So hopefully, though, we give the fans a good show there, and hopefully JR can come away with the championship, being a different path motorsports driver myself. But I'm really pulling for Justin too, because he's been deserving of one for a long time.
Yeah, I think we need 17 cars to show up next week for you to be eligible again. So tell all your friends to show up. Get everybody in here. Let's get a 20-plus car field for next week.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah, and of course, I guess we need to have JR and Justin either not show up. Not showing up would definitely hand me the championship, but at that point, I need for them to both rack, and I don't see that happening.
Yeah. You have anyone else you want to thank for tonight?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. You guys, the good Lord, my parents, they've done a lot for me, and you guys always put on a great show. Lowell for putting on the league. It's so much fun to race with these guys every week. Gargamel's Kitchen, they're a fantastic title sponsor for us. And of course, the men and women who serve our country every day, and the first responders who lost their lives in the terrorist attack 20 years ago today, and everyone else who suffered from those. And we continue to suffer, and we'll never forget and never forgive that day and those incidents.
Thanks, Austin Belkey, for your thoughts, and thanks for putting on a show for us. Third place tonight at Thompson. That was your whole top three. Belkey, Shepard, and Morton. They put on a show for us tonight. It was hard to pass, but they certainly tried their best. And Devin, one race to go. It's most likely a two-man championship battle. Shepard, Morton, are you looking forward to next week?
Oh, absolutely. You look at J.R. Shepard looking for another championship and what would be win number 50 of his Grand National Series career in only 7 seasons. And like they all said, Justin Morton is so deserving and just has done so well and so much for this league over the past 7 seasons for the Grand National Series. Races a ton, lays his heart out there every single week. It's 2 fantastic drivers. 3 if you count Austin Belkey, 4 if you count Matthew Thunhorst, and it's been a phenomenal season, maybe one of the best in series history. And while I can wait for it to come to a close, I can't wait to see what unfolds next week at New Smyrna.
Well, we've not very long to wait. Like you said, next week, we hope everyone will be back, and we'll thank Gargamel's Kitchen for sponsoring these first 10 races of the season and the last one of the season. We're going to close a fantastic season next week thanks to Gargamel's Kitchen, food-grade nitrous oxide provider located in Denver, Colorado, and a proud sponsor of the Bootleg Racing League's Grand National Series. Visit their office at 2045 South Valentia Street or give them a call at 720-707-6178. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts listed here on your screen, and additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the entire team who helped put on this broadcast today, and thanks to our viewers for tuning in. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or you can check out our social media through the outlets listed at the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like to support the channel, go check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. The link is in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe while you're down there in the description. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race, as we've said, for the BRL Grand National Series, the season finale at New Smyrna, Saturday, September 18th at 8:50 p.m. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Well, for Devin Henry, Zach Johnson, and Dougie Beard, I'm Joey Tevin. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.